Is your fuel clean or is it dirty? Oh, dirty, dirty boy. This is the cockpit of my Pearson 424 Catch named Silver Heels. And today, as you can see, I'm extracting the fuel inspection plates on the deck and pulling out the fuel gauge so I can see the fuel inside the tank. I'm checking for any debris or particles floating along the inside of the walls or at the top of the fuel. Why go through this trouble, you may ask? Watch this video for the answer. In addition, I'll be providing an overview of the marine diesel fuel system and showing methodically the steps I went through to access the fuel tank to inspect inside. Hi, I'm Sailor Eric, and if you like sailing or boat maintenance, you've come to the right channel. My 46-year-old Pearson 424 Catch still has the original aluminum 80-gallon tank centered aft directly below the cockpit. Inspection ports and access to the tank are limited. I'm not sure if the tank has ever really been cleaned. Dirty or contaminated fuel is a leading cause of engine problems. This is why marine diesel fuel systems are generally designed with 2 layers of filters. If sediments or contaminants clog the fuel system, the engine sputters, shuts off, and fails to start. How can contaminants materialize in the fuel system? They can be introduced from the source of the fuel, the gas station. Water could leak into the fuel tank if the tank is not sound or an ingress route is available. Moisture can condense within the tank. There is also the diesel bug. The diesel bug is a microbial contamination in diesel fuel that can occur. This bacteria especially thrives when water is present in the tank and grows faster in warmer conditions. This fungi growth creates a sludge-like deposit in the fuel. Let me pause here for a second and say, I am not a diesel mechanic, and I am not an expert on the topic of diesel fuel. I'm just a sailor who owns a boat, likes to destination sail, and has to anticipate and deal with all sorts of potential problems. Since I've owned Silver Heels for over 5 years, I've never experienced a problem with the engine. I have had to deal with a loss of propulsion when the prop shaft severed from the transmission, but that's a story for another video. I'm sharing what I'm going through so that we might all gain and learn from the experience together. That being said, if you have insights such as how best to inspect fuel in the tank or particular detailed insights about the fuel system, please leave a comment to this video. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let's go over how the marine diesel fuel system generally works on most recreational sailboats. When the engine is started, fuel is pulled by a fuel pump to the primary fuel filter, where water is separated and contaminants are filtered. The fuel then subsequently gets pulled through the lift pump to the secondary and finer grained filter. At this point, the fuel is considered clean enough to serve up to the engine's injection system. It is then moved to the high pressure fuel pump, which serves up the fuel to the injection system. The injection pump effectively atomizes the fuel and injects the fuel vapor at high pressure into compression chambers, creating highly precise and timed flash ignitions, which cause the pistons to rise and fall at a rate of approximately 400 times per minute for my Yanmar 4JH4. Excess fuel is returned back to the tank and ready for recirculation through the system. Because the system is so precise and requires the delivery of clean fuel at approximately 400 cycles per second, you can imagine why the fuel needs to be super clean and absent of contaminants. Now here's a scenario of how sediment in a fuel tank can ultimately cause a problem. Say you're motoring through heavier seas where the fuel level is low. The pitching and rolling will likely cause settled sediments or contaminants that exist in the fuel to stir up. If the fuel level is low, it'll be more likely that those contaminants that are floating in the fuel will be served into the fuel system because the solid to liquid ratio is higher. The contaminants could cause obstructions in the filter and prevent the flow of fuel through the system. Being cognizant of this possible problem, and despite the absence of any engine issues over the past 5 years on Silverheels, I still thought it would be worthwhile to try to check the fuel in the tank. After conducting this check and doing research to present this video, I've uncovered some additional ways to inspect the fuel system, some of which I've already done, including checking the existing primary fuel filters, checking for water in the sediment bowl of the primary filter, using a clear plastic tube to check for water and debris at the bottom of the tank. You do this by inserting the tube so it touches the bottom of the tank, covering the top of the tube with your thumb, and then subsequently extracting the tube and holding it over another container, removing your thumb so that the captured liquid in the tube spills out. Once collected, you can visually inspect that sample. There are also diesel test kits available that you can apply to the fuel sample and check the results. You can also send the sample to a fuel testing lab. Things can be done to prevent dirty fuel from entering the engine. Frequent filter changes. I do mine annually, and we'll cover this in another video. Fuel polishing is where you extract the fuel from the tank and run it through an independent filtering system. Fuel tank cleaning. You need access ports for this. Biocides. Lake Michigan marinas all treat their fuel with biocides, to my understanding. Proper fueling, meaning mind your fuel sources. Again, this is not really an issue with the gas stations at the marinas at Lake Michigan. Ventilation, to prevent moisture-laden air from entering or being trapped in the tank and condensing to create water in the tank. Boat storage in cool and dry places. The diesel bug grows in warm, moist conditions faster. So that's why I pulled the fuel gauge plate up, extracted the fuel gauge, inserted an older snake-type camera into the tank, visually inspected the fuel tank and the interior, took some pictures, and then put everything back together. When reinstalling that top plate, note that I'm applying silicone to the plate base that sits flush on the deck. I do this to prevent water leaks. The silicone acts as an adhesive, but it will give way easy enough when pressure is applied to pry the plate back up. I'm also putting caulk on the screw heads for the same reason, to keep water out. I did not see any chunks of debris floating in the fuel or along the sides of the tank, but certainly my inspection did not account for anything settled at the bottom of the tank, which would be the most likely scenario. So conducting a better inspection at some point in the future is on my mental checklist. How do you inspect your fuel? Please leave a comment. If you watched the entire video and liked the content, please press that like button. It is a free action that you can do that YouTube will take notice of, and it will then subsequently send this video to other viewers as a result. I want to thank my current subscribers. Your support is greatly appreciated. This is Sailor Eric. Thanks for watching.